Georgia offense versus Texas defense, I think we should just hit the most obvious thing here. What is your guys' faith in Gunnar Stockton?
Boy, Matt, you go first.
I don't know. I've never been like super high on Gunnar Stockton. I think, I mean, the way he came into the Texas game, everyone loves to talk about the intangibles. I feel like because the intangibles of Carson Beck just like pissed off people so much. Like, we had a terrible run game, terrible offensive line. Our receivers dropped 37 passes, and somehow we're blaming the quarterback for all of our losses. Like, I didn't understand it at all. Like, Carson Beck probably completes 70% of his passes if we drop like 15 balls last year. I don't know, but it's kind of crazy. So my biggest concern is that when you saw Gunnar Stockton, because the intangibles factor, that is something at the quarterback position. And when he came to that Texas game, I feel like the team rallied around him. There was an energy. Maybe they knew they had to. But you also saw him making some plays with his legs. There's that one highlight, he kind of lowered his shoulder and he's kind of talking trash afterwards. I'm thinking that's what Georgia's going to have to be. And maybe the running game is better because you have a quarterback is actually part of the run game. And against Notre Dame, you just didn't see that at all. And so I was so confused of like, this guy's just sitting back there throwing it 35 times. Like, this is not how we're going to succeed, in my opinion. And I'm never critical of Kirby Smart. I'm so critical of what Georgia did before the halftime of that game. Don't even get me started on it. Like, we should just kneed on it. Like, just sat on it. Like, down. What was it?
I think you were only down by
6-3 or something at that point. It's like, let's just knee it. Let's go to the half. Change the whole game. Obviously, take the kickback to start the second half. But that minute of game time is where the entire game changed. But
Georgia had a failed Hail Mary the game before that too, right? Like, didn't they have like a strip sack Hail Mary against like?
Well, that's how Beck got hurt.
Yeah,
but that wasn't a Hail Mary. We were on like the 20-yard line. It was like, what do we do? And there's like 20 seconds left, but we haven't moved the ball at all. We're not going to start now. But it was just a weirdly aggressive move, I feel like. But I'm not going to get into that right now. My biggest thing is I feel like Gunnar Stockton has to be a part of the run game. And the biggest thing I'll say is, I guess the caveat is, a lot of people like to point to what Notre Dame's defense did against Ohio State and against Penn State, that Gunnar Stockton was more productive, had more yards and stuff like that. I don't know if it's just as a passer. I'm significantly less confident in Gunnar Stockton as a passer than I was Carson Beck.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I definitely felt way better about Carson Beck as a passer going into last year than I do about Gunnar Stockton now. But that's also just because like we haven't seen Gunnar Stockton at all. And Carson Beck at that point was going in, had a full year of starting under his belt.
Yeah, those are potentially the two best secondaries in college football last year, Texas and Notre Dame, that Gunnar had to face.
Mm-hmm. And there is something to be said for like how much the locker room does seem to be behind him. Like, I got to like go to some media availabilities and like there was I forget which player who said it, but I can't believe I'm forgetting the guy, but I think he was like, yeah, Gunnar's one of the best people I've ever met. And I was like taken aback that like he said that about his teammate. Like, I was like, dang, like, okay, cool.
If you guys aren't aware, he drives like a 1984 Ford Ranger and like doesn't lock his doors, and he has like a flip phone or something. I don't know, but just as he
gets compared to Stetson Bennett a lot because of like the aw shucks quality of it all. But also, I think Gunnar Stockton has more more dog to him than that, if I can say that. But I don't know. What we did see from Gunnar Stockton last year in two very high leverage situations was just kind of mixed. But I think he's got a decent arm. He throws a pretty deep ball. Decision making needs to get better. He needs to get better just throwing the intermediate areas of the field overall. But I'd be surprised. I'll say this: like I'll be surprised if Gunnar Stockton just like sinks Georgia's offense next year. I don't think he will be bad enough to do that. And if anything, I think he'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I would struggle to guarantee he's a top 10 quarterback in the SEC next year.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Athlon has him ranked number 9 in the SEC. So I was wondering if that is a little bit off or no.
No, I don't hate that. I might
put him a little high, like a couple spots above, but not much higher than that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to and you turn and talk about like some of those proven guys that are ahead of him, but I think the biggest difference is Georgia. Like we were talking about Georgia's defense being unproven. The offense is unproven at Georgia. The offensive playmakers are unproven at Georgia, but with Noah Thomas and Colby Young back from his suspension and Zachariah Branch at USC, like I just expect Georgia's receivers to be so much better than they were a year ago. And a couple true freshmen they brought in, like I think that should be the biggest difference because 37 drops, like that number is like tattooed in my brain. Like 37 drops, like that's an insane number of drops.
Insane that
I think
happened.
SMU had like they dropped a pass versus Penn State, and the announcer was like, "That's their 8th drop of the season or something." We have 37 drops. How is that possible?
I'm shocked Kirby Smart didn't murder somebody. Like I like straight up just lost in the woods of Georgia somewhere.
It makes no sense. Like, I still don't understand how the receiving core was like at a program like that. Like, how does the receiving core get that bad? It was pretty shocking.
And Arian Smith's the one that got all the hate, and it's like he's the one getting open all the time. Like this guy, you got to give him his credit.
Bro,
but yeah, and I don't know how much you guys know.
Every game was Dominic Lovett, and by the end of the
Yeah.
season, they just given up, and they were just throwing him bubble screens every time because that was the only thing he could do.
And he dropped some of those too, honestly. But
Very
I don't know how much
good.
you guys know, but like Mike Bobo in Georgia circles is like the most polarizing guy ever. And I just don't understand it, especially when you think about like the situations of some of those drops last year. Like first play of the game, Alabama had the ball first, right? Scored on Georgia. First play of the game would have potentially been like a 70-yard bomb to Arian Smith, and you drop it. It's like the first, like one of the first plays of the Tennessee game was like a 50-yard bomb. You drop it. Georgia scores like 7 points in the first half of that game. Like it just killed the start of like every game. It would be like, yep, early drop for I think the Texas game. I think Dylan Bell, had 2 different drops in like the first series. Like it was so frustrating. It just how it would just kill the momentum of any drive. And it's like, who knows how much like Carson Beck threw so many picks, but it's like, who knows how the drive is different, how the flow of the game goes if that was a 40-yard completion instead of we just punted because that was 3rd and 8,
Yeah, a lot of stuff would have been different. It was pretty bizarre how bad the drops got last year. And like I'd be Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, Colby Young coming back. They're pretty excited about CJ Wiley, I've heard, and he had a pretty sick catch in the G-Day game. That's like a former 5. There's, Taylon Taylor's another guy with an insane pedigree. And it's like,
yeah, he was the higher ranked one, right?
Taylor.
I
think he was.
He was a 5-star, I believe.
I would expect at least one of those younger guys to get in the rotation at some point in the year too, because I think that's kind of what they were trying to do with Nitro Tuggle towards the end of last year. And then, Nitro Tuggle had that whole thing happen, and now he's with, I think, Purdue. Yeah.
Common place for our guys to go. I think there's at least 2 or 3 guys that transfer.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys that are there. I think like CJ Madden or something is there. Like, but yeah, no, I think the playmaker should be much better. I also kind of like Lawson Lucky at tight end. Like, I think he's a solid player. Definitely not gonna lead the team in receiving or anything, or be anything close to like what Brock Bowers was. But I think he's a better receiving option than Oscar Delp is. So and the offensive line is also like that's probably the group that has the most questions, because you're losing a 3-year starter, team captain in Tay Rowledge, along with Dylan Fairchild, who was one of the better guards in the SEC, and then Jared Wilson, only started 1 year, but like he was really good for that 1 year. So now you have Drew Bobo, and then I think it's going to be Michael Morris and Daniel Calhoun, who has like never played at all. At guard.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Now, if a snap goes wrong, we can blame Bobo too.
Yeah,
so that's fantastic.
His son can't snap the ball.
Yeah, come on, Bobo.
How are you trusting to call plays?
Yeah, and that's my biggest thing.
Pray that's not happen, because
I know he's gonna mess up a snap. He's human. Like, so it's gonna happen at some point. But Georgia, you guys know, like Georgia's RBU historically, like that's Georgia's built on a run game. Even when they're more dynamic, passing the ball last few years, you still had Zamir White and James Cook, or you had Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton and Dejon Edwards in the backfield. Like, you had a very productive running game. Even I would say 2022 and 2023, it wasn't great. And it was like top 25, top 30 nationally. And it's like, it didn't even really seem like it was that good. And last year they were, I think, 102nd or something in run game. And you lose Trevor Etienne, who I think was Georgia's best offensive weapon last year when he was healthy. And Nate Frazier had his fumble issues, but he looked like a really dynamic potential star as a true freshman. But it's a very uncertain group. I mean, it's a guy, your leading rusher, and they brought in the transfer from Illinois, right? That Brett Bielema got pissed off about it the other day.
Josh McCray.
Yeah, Josh McCray. He's like, and so he could be that bruiser that Georgia didn't have, because Frazier and Etienne are both kind of that smaller, kind of quick back, and you didn't have the Kendall Milton, the big guy to go up the middle. And I think McCray's listed at like 6 feet 240 or something. So that could be a game changer in the backfield. But yeah, when you talk about the uncertainty on the offensive line and kind of how unproven, I mean, McCray was good, but he had like 700-800 yards last year, not like a superstar or anything. So if the running game isn't, I don't know. I feel like, just being a Georgia fan, I know it has to be better, but there's not many tangible reasons to say like this is why it's going to be better, other than just being Georgia. I mean, like, we can't have the 100th ranked running game. Like, what is this?
Yeah,
it should be at worst like the 5th or 6th in the SEC.
It's all vibe, and I think vibes are right. Like, there's something to be said about identity, right? And I think run the damn ball, Bobo has become a meme for a reason, right? Because that's what Georgia fans want. I think it's what Georgia, like, people expect Georgia to be good at. Right? That big bruising running back just abusing folks. So I'm with you. Like, I don't know who it's going to be, but again, I just expect Georgia to have a solid running game this year because it's freaking Georgia.
I would hope so. I would have expected it last year too, though. So who knows?
Etienne he didn't have a great game, but he scored twice against Texas. So like that,
another guy that was his best game of the year, probably maybe 2 of his best games of the whole year against Texas.
He had, like,
he had a suspension. Yeah, he also says he was suspended for Clemson, and then I think he missed 2 or 3 games late in the year. So he had like 600-700 yards. Like, I think it was less than he did the previous year at Florida. So I kind of expected him to be that breakout guy, and I think he was when he was healthy, but just, I don't know. He was like making plays despite the offensive line at times.
He was great in the third quarter of the SEC championship game. I think he had like 60 yards rushing in that one quarter.
Yeah. I mean, and like, I think the Kentucky game, he had like 75 yards, and it's like this guy had to have had 80 yards after contact. Like, it was insane just how many guys he'd have to make miss behind the line of scrimmage and things like that, because Georgia's offensive line just, I don't know, just wasn't up to what it should be.
I mean, it was, I'm looking at it right now. The last like 10 years, I think it's the lowest output by like a couple hundred yards. So like that's the first, like it's the lowest by
the yards per game.
The yards by running back, just total yardage by running back.
Oh yeah, I think you got to go back to like 03 or something for like the lowest our leading rusher has had. I actually did do it one day. I think I may have gone back to like 93 or something. The last time Georgia had less than like 130 yards a game, as a team. Like, it was insane. Like, I think they averaged, it was like 220 or something, like last year, like the year before, where I don't think they were even that good. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Wow. It's just wild. You don't expect that out of Georgia. And again, I don't. 2 years in a row would be a lot for me to believe that that'll be the same way. I just don't. Like, you could pencil them in for, almost 1,000-yard rusher, right? 800, 900 yards from a kid who's averaging 120 a game.
Yeah, and usually it's like 2 guys that are having that are at like 700, 800, 900 yards. Like, Swift and Holyfield were both 1,000-yard guys the same year. Michelle and Chubb were both 1,000-yard guys the same year. Like, that's what we're used to, And maybe maybe we need to be more dynamic passing the ball, but at worst, it's a Dejon Edwards, Kendall Milton situation, and where they had 800 yards apiece or something that year. That was a good season, a productive run game. So. Yeah, it's let's hope it gets back to that.
Yeah, I'm just like, my thing with that is like the running back room got worse with Etienne leaving. And then also I think it's fair to say the offensive line also got worse.
It's hard to say it got better for sure.
So I just don't know if, like, I think all of this depends, like, Georgia's running game improving just depends on, like, Drew Bobo and Daniel Calhoun like being insanely good, and like Nate Frazier or somebody having like a huge leap.
Well, you had,
like,
Ernest
a lot
Green.
of projections and stuff has to happen for Georgia's run game to improve? Because I just don't feel like I see it like on paper just getting better.
Why am I blanking on the tackle from last year? Was he 57? The former
Marlon
5-star Freeling. Freeling and Ernest Green both had injuries. They both had injuries at points last year. So I think that could have been a factor, in those guys. Because I mean, Freeling was a former 5-star. Ernest Green was really good as a freshman. So I'm not really sure what happened as a sophomore. So, maybe those guys get back to that. But yeah, I mean, Jared Wilson and Ratledge in the middle, like that, those are two huge losses. I mean, Fairchild too, but he was a third, fourth rounder.
Yeah. I mean, Fairchild was like all SEC. He was a good player.
Yeah, so that's I think the most proven guy in that group the most seasoned is Micah Morris, because they did play 3 guards because Ratledge missed some time. So I think Micah Morris is pretty proven.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a question mark. That's why that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have any tangible reasons for knowing the running game will be better, but it's Georgia and it's gotta be, right? Right? Like, I'm trying to convince myself.
I don't know, man.
Well, that's the thing. Like, looking at this now, I think this is going to be a defensive battle again, because I think Texas is probably one of the 2 to 3 best defenses in the whole country this year. I mean, with Simmons, Moore, Brad Spence, who I mean, this is the thing. What I liked what you said, Brad, too, is like, you can't, like, in an hour press conference with your coach, they're going to give you 99% BS, but every once in a while they're going to let something slip. And Sark just mentioning Brad Spence out of nowhere without being prompted tells me a lot. Like, Brad Spence is going to be a really good player for Texas this year, the guy that transferred in from Arkansas. And then you combine that with Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Ethan Burke, if he can jump up and take that next level. And if he's not, then fine. He's still a really good football player. It's going to be really, really exciting, especially off the edge.
Before we jump in, Matt, Bo, I have to dip. I've got family stuff, but thank y'all so much for being here. Matthew, you're in great hands with Matthew. Thank y'all so much for joining us, and we'll do this again soon.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It was a pleasure.
Good to meet you, man. Have a good night.
Y'all too.
To your point, Matthew, I think that's what Georgia fans kind of did a couple years ago when we had Eric Gilbert coming in. And I think Todd Monken was asked about Eric Gilbert. He was like, yeah, he's kind of like a Brock Bowers type. And that's before Brock Bowers had ever played. And we're all like, wait, what does that mean? A Brock Bowers type? Do you already know how good this guy is? Like, these guys know something we don't know. You got to take those nuggets where you can.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I agree. And when he says stuff unprompted, I tend to listen. Because I don't think he said anything unprompted that has been wrong. Like, usually when it comes off script like that, when he tells out of his like, yeah, it's this, and this during this press conference, he usually gets it right. And I think just this defense in general, it's one of the most talented that we've had here probably since like the Sergio Kindle, Brian Arakpo days off the edge. Like, those guys were insane coming off the edge. Sergio Kindle would have been a hell of an NFL player.
Kindle. That's a great name drop.
Yeah. And Anthony Hill, I think, is going to show people, he should have been invited for the Butkus last year. I don't know why he wasn't. This year, he definitely will be. I think he ends up winning it. Like, that guy's a freak. He's going to play most likely off the edge in the NFL. I mean, the guy has, I believe, 15 or 16 sacks in 2 years. Just, hey, go get the quarterback. We're not going to really let you have a position. You're just kind of going to go find the ball, find the quarterback. I think he's an elite guy as well. And then Michael Taft coming back doesn't really get talked about enough. Like, that guy's a really good football player. He's kind of like your guys' Dan Jackson last year. I think he's even a little bit more talented. My question mark would be cornerback number 2. I don't know who that's going to be. Obviously, Jahdae Barron leaves, and then Malik Muhammad on the other side. I think he'll be fine. But then is it going to be Kobe Black, the 5-star freshman last year? Is it going to be Jalen Gilbo sliding out from the nickel spot to the cornerback spot? I don't know who that's going to be. So that's going to be my question on the Texas defense.
Yeah, and they're replacing the Thorpe Award winner, right, in the secondary. Like, that's not going to be easy. Are they expecting some impact transfers starting next year? Yeah, so not in the defensive backfield, but our interior of the defense is going to be basically all transfer portals. Yeah, it's going to be Murad Watson from Syracuse, Travis Shaw from North Carolina, Cole Brevard from Purdue, Hero Canoe from Ohio State, and then Levon Johnson. If he plays, we're in trouble because he wasn't that good at Maryland. He's kind of just a big guy that we brought in. But the guy that is like homegrown here is Alex January. And he was talked about last year as a freshman. He was only a 3-star. But everyone that came into practice
said, who's that other guy? And he's like, oh, it's the other guy we got from Duncanville other than Colin Simmons. So he was talked about, and he played the Ohio State game, and I thought he played pretty well. I think he's going to be really good here at Texas. I don't know how much he plays this year, but he will play a decent amount.
So how do they stack up against the Dogs? That's the question.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Your offensive line, it's weird because I agree. Like college football and football in general is really weird because especially offensive line, you guys may have had more talent last year, but they may gel better this year and they may just be better as a unit. So if your offensive line is the same as last year, I think we probably hold the edge because I think Colin Simmons, I really think he's going to be the best pass rusher in college football. I think he actually might be the best player. I'm insanely high on that guy. What he did the last 5-6 games of the year, he was a freak off the edge, like really, really elite first step quickness. So I think we would hold the edge. Now, if you guys get better there, you guys could hold the edge there. But for now, I think Texas holds the edge in this matchup.
Yeah, and I would say it's tough for Texas to be as good defensively as they were last year, and I guess Georgia should be better offensively, but I don't know. I'm still nervous of the Carson to Gunner transition, so I don't know that Georgia's offense will be better than it was, and so I think in both of these matchups last year, I think the Texas defense was better than the Georgia offense. So I'd probably give Texas the edge against Georgia's offense right now.
Yeah, I think I probably would too. I mean, even when you're losing a guy like Johnny Barron, like they still just have dudes. Like Anthony Hill is just such a good player. Colin Simmons is a monster. And Georgia, I really just like, I think the passing game is going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be better than it was last season. Like the floor is just way higher, assuming they don't drop 37 passes and lead the FBS again. But like, I really just don't know how to feel about the run game. I guess you can kind of bank on it improving just because it's like it can't be worse than it was last year. But like, I just don't know how I feel about the players there and with the results last year. Like, I don't know. So I think I would definitely give Texas the advantage in this matchup. Like this game is going to be, I feel like it's going to be kind of a rock fight.
Yeah, similar to what you said, Matthew, earlier. Like when a running back just has fumble issues, I don't know. Do they ever fix it completely? Like Nate Frazier, he looked like a potential future star, but if you're fumbling the ball, like that's the best way to lose playing time.
Mm-hmm.
No, I will 100%. Say one thing. I hope both of these teams go into this matchup with at least one loss, if not like 2 losses, because I really don't want to see Georgia Texas like the second week of November and then Georgia Texas the SEC championship. You know, I want this game to be like to get to the SEC championship or something like that.
I could see that. I mean, I'm not writing this in stone yet because I did really well with my predictions last year as a whole for Texas as a team. I have us with 1 loss going in this game. I have us losing to Florida for right now. That is my 1 loss.
Florida, that's the one, huh?
Yeah.
Going into the swamp this year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. In the swamp. That's the reason. It's early in the season. I think they're going to be, I don't think Florida's going to be that great. I think they're being a little bit overhyped. I think they're like an 8-4 football team, but I just think we destroyed them last year. Like we embarrassed them. We ran them off the field. I think they're going to remember that. And they kind of held DJ Lagway out of that game. I think they're going to go full force with them in this game when they play.
That was the weirdest thing ever. He like got taken off in a stretcher and then it was like, wait, is he going to play the next week? Like, I don't know. It was very odd. And then, then he didn't play against Texas, then just played the rest of the season. I feel like Florida always gets one, like when they're good, at least they're gonna get somebody at home that they shouldn't beat, and maybe it is Texas.
Yeah.
What about Zachariah Branch? That's what I was gonna say to you guys. Like it's hard for me to say, like I think he's gonna be pretty good, but he wasn't ever even great at USC under a Lincoln Riley offense. So how do you think you guys are gonna use him in the Georgia offense?
I think he's gonna be probably like the most explosive player. I would hope Mike Bobo gets more creative than like bubble screens and stuff with him because that's kind of all he did last year, like to try to drum up some, manufactured production to one guy in the passing game. But hopefully he gets used as a returner, which I know it's just special teams doesn't really have an impact on what we're talking about. But I think he's probably Noah Thomas is going to be probably that, big body outside X guy. And I would I would expect Zachariah Branch to spend some time in the slot and outside, just kind of depending on the down and the distance and the situation and everything. But I don't know. You like that's a good point. Like my expectations are not for him to like change the offense or anything, or just completely make this passing offense like a top 5 unit, like off of him just being insane or anything. But like I do think he's going to be one of the probably top 2 players in this receiving core.
Yeah, and I could see that. I'm honestly like from a fan perspective, I'm just like I almost don't want to think about him. I want to think about everything but him because it's like I think he truly does have that ability to be like just the number 1 X factor in Georgia's offense. That like Georgia without Zachariah Branch could have a really solid, 5th, 6th best offense in the SEC or something. But I think if he is like what he's supposed to be, like I think Georgia could have the best offense in the entire conference. Like I think he's that big of a potential game changer. But like you're saying, I saw the flashes as a true freshman, and I'm not going to pretend I watched all the USC games last year, but you didn't really see any of what he did as a true freshman. So I don't want to put too much, like I was watching that Andy and Ari, that the On 3 guys talking, and I think that Ari dude, I forget what his last name is, said once a 5-star, was it?
Yeah, Wasserman.
Yeah. He said once a 5-star, always a 5-star in his book. And I was just like, no, dude. Some dudes are just terribly evaluated coming out of high school. Like it's not, that guy didn't tell everyone he was a 5-star. Some recruiting site said he was a 5-star. Like sometimes you guys are wrong. And so maybe he's not a 5-star receiver. I think he's one of those guys, kind of reminds me of Kadarius Toney from Florida. And if you remember Kadarius Toney, it kind of took him a couple years. And then his senior year, I mean, he just had a monster season, like 75 catches, like double-digit touchdowns.
And
then he was terrible in the NFL.
Yeah, and he was that return
he also
weapon.
has one of the craziest plays in Super Bowl history, and he's a champion. Very strange career.
Yeah, very strange career. But his senior year at Florida, he was good. And so I think he's the kind of that weapon. Zachariah Branch just moved different. When you saw him as a freshman, you're like, this dude looks different. And then so you're just kind of surprised to see his production. A guy averaged like 10 yards a catch or something last year. So I think he could be that ultimate X factor, but I don't necessarily feel like Georgia should have like all their eggs in his basket. Because I'm more confident about Noah Thomas. Like I think Noah Thomas, you're gonna plug in and know you're getting like a 45, 50 catch guy, 8 touchdowns. He's just that big body receiver out wide. Like I think Colby Young and Noah Thomas totally changed Georgia's offense because now Dylan Bell is kind of a kind of X factor, he doesn't have to be that big body making catches against the best corner one-on-one. He gets matched up with the third corner or something like that. So I think Dylan Bell could be much more dangerous like he was in 2023. And then obviously we're talking about Zachariah Branch. I think those guys could just kind of be those yards after catch type of guys.